All right, Donald Trump is ramping up his fundraising. The former president closed the fundraising gap, adding more than $50 million to his war chest from a mega donor fundraiser over the weekend, according to his campaign. Trump brought in double the money President Biden raised from his celebrity field. And it wasn't just celebrities. He had 3 presidents, including himself, there at the fundraiser about 2 weeks ago. Biden's team took to the media to attack Trump's donors.
He's down in Mar-a-Lago tonight with a bunch of billionaires, people like John Paulson, who not only wants to cut Social Security, but he's famous for, as a hedge funder, rooting against the American economy, betting against the American economy. So I guess it's no surprise that he's investing in somebody like Donald Trump, who's rooting for the economy to crash. But the whole lot of them is a bunch of billionaire scammers, extremists, and racists who understand that if they fund Trump's legal fees, he's going to cut their taxes while he cuts our Social Security. And so that's just the fundamental contrast that you have between the fundraising operation that we're building up and how it's allowing us to communicate with the voters and the money that Trump's raising from a bunch of billionaires that's doing nothing more than paying off his legal fees right now.
I think that was every talking point. I think you got them all. The only thing I didn't hear was anything about ice cream. Who wants to rebut that?
The
Anybody?
scammers and racists were the ones there on Saturday? Is that?
That's
the context? Listen, it is true that Biden had an event here. And it is true that Joe Biden in the past 24 hours said, this is Scranton versus Palm Beach. Well, you just had how many people inside Radio City? You had no reporters. You had no media coverage. You raised upwards of $30 million on your own. I'm not so sure. The Democrats, between Joe Biden's campaign and the DNC, have about $190 million. Trump and the RNC have about $90 million. Mark Thiessen earlier said today, this is the one category where Joe Biden is number one. And that's in raising money. But money is not the only thing that decides elections. You can ask Hillary Clinton from 2016. I think the more significant number to watch is not how many galas they show, or throw rather, and how much money they raise through those events, but how many small dollar donations do they get? Because the big politicians know those are the people who vote.
Well, and some of the reporting around Biden is that he's gotten quite a few of around that $200 mark. So I just want to see all of it. I want to see all of the facts, the fact-checking on all of this, because if we're going to make this a money game, then we got to see the numbers. Ainsley.
Yeah, I think that, when what were the words? Scammers, extremists, racists. Biden can't run on the issues. So they have to go after these types of attacks, racism, scammers, too much money for a ticket kind of thing. They all have their fundraisers. But he can't go after the real issues, which are immigration and crime and foreign policy, the economy. Those are the issues. That's why we're all voting in November. It's not because we really think that Donald Trump might be racist or some of these wealthy people are racist. No. Let's talk about fundraisers. When Joe Biden was with the Clintons and with Obama at a fundraiser, guess where Trump was? He was at the memorial service for the police officer that was killed in Massapequa.
That's right. Kennedy.
It's very interesting because I thought that the surrogate who was on MSNBC actually did a very good job of articulating the president's case. And I felt bad that, President Biden is saddled with Kamala Harris. Why couldn't he find a better communicator who's able to leap off the screen? I mean, granted, it was all lies, but they were falling all over themselves with the help of the media, patting themselves on the back for this record haul. Groundbreaking. $25 million.
It's so true.
An American record. So $50 million, that's not a big deal. You think that those were plumbers and CVS workers paying $100,000 a pop for an Annie Leibovitz picture with Biden, Clinton, and Obama? Absolutely not. That was not a grassroots fundraiser. That's how the Obama administration framed it. Shame on them. It's all about money. That's the most important thing to them. Well, guess what? The RNC and the Trump campaign, they just hitched their wagons together. And this is where the game changes in terms of how they raise money.
Biden doesn't know any people like that, like normal people. He doesn't know how much things cost at the grocery store. Otherwise, he would be able to talk about inflation more intelligently. You had a really good point, though. So this guy's a surrogate, Michael Tyler. He's the Biden campaign communications director. He had all the talking points.
Yeah, the problem is the talking points were lies. I mean, who was the racist that was there? The people at the fundraiser, Tim Scott was there, Vivek Ramaswamy, the owner of the Jets, Woody Johnson was there, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, Steve Wynn. Like, these are
You know what he's
mainstream folks.
saying, right?
Yeah, it was just a lie. It was a lie that he wanted to go out on MSNBC and there's no accountability there, so he could do it. But to your point, Kennedy, I think it's an important one. I saw a clip of Biden going, I'm the party of grassroots. That picture with 3 presidents, $100,000. The tickets went for upwards of $500,000. I'd love to know how many billionaires were at Radio City, because I've got to guess a lot of people with pocket change, $500,000 to shell out on a ticket to see Obama and Biden. Got to guess you're somewhere close to a billionaire or somewhere hundreds of millions of dollars. And Trump doubled the fundraising record, essentially. Pretty big deal.
There you go. I want to say this. So they bring out the black surrogate to talk about racism, because apparently the people that you just listed on that list, they're all black, but they're not Democrats.
Not Democrats.
There you go. That's what he's saying.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.